Games are now the biggest media form in the world, and with that title comes a lot of passionate discussions and a handful of unfollows. But few are as interesting or as divisive as this one right here, because there's just so much to unpack, and I'm not just going to give you the luggage, but also a perspective you may not have heard before. So if you like the video, please leave a like or a subscribe. It really helps me out because making videos is hard, so sometimes I feel myself on the shower floor and ugly cry into my knees. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So, are you like taking a mental health day or something? Okay. Let's begin by unequivocally stating that DayZ is far from a leisurely stroll in a virtual park for the majority of its players. The game presents a formidable learning curve that can be downright daunting for those who are new to its intricate mechanics, from the nuanced aspects of resource management to the many combat systems to the numerous recipes for crafting. The game demands a high level of skill and strategic thinking at all times, but it doesn't stop there. Players must also grapple with the perils of starvation, dehydration, predatory wildlife, and the scarcity of essential items. It's like living in post-Brexit Britain. It's not just dodging zombies, you're also navigating complex social dynamics, making ethical choices, and surviving environmental hazards like weather and disease. It's really like post-Brexit Britain. In addition to this, getting access to basic things other games throw at you like cars and bases can not only be difficult to learn, but even more difficult to execute and near impossible to keep, even for veteran players. Yet, you don't have to dig deep in the DayZ community before you hear someone claim it's too easy, which includes both seasoned players and content creators alike. For those who have invested time and effort, the once daunting challenges begin to diminish. Resources like food, water, and weapons, which should be rare commodities in a post-apocalyptic world, become surprisingly plentiful when you know where to scavenge. This knowledge transforms the survival aspect from a desperate fight for existence into a somewhat monotonous resource gathering exercise until your next PvP encounter. Additionally, certain game updates such as the introduction of items like improvised gloves or mechanics where zombies can't kill you when you're down have been argued to have further diluted the raw, unforgiving difficulty of the survival elements, leading some to argue that the game has become overly accommodating, and these voices are being listened to. This brings us to the pivotal role that larger streamers play in shaping DayZ's development. In a way, streamers and content creators are DayZ's best asset. They're free promotion to a much wider audience than Bohemia could otherwise ever reach. These creators, who have essentially professionalized their DayZ gameplay, can sometimes possess an unparalleled grasp of the game's features, with some channels specifically specializing in trying to understand exactly how the game works and how to become a better player. When it comes to the community's conversation, content creators can sometimes have a louder voice than the majority. This imbalance means it's a lot easier for one person to say something about DayZ that invites changes by the developers than it is for 100 people to say it to the same response. This isn't down to the streamers and it isn't down to the dev team. There are ways you can speak just as loud without having a single subscriber, which I'll explain in a bit, but none of this means the developers listen to every streamer or content creator. They absolutely don't, which is a shame because a DayZ Batmobile would be incredible. Just throwing that out there. However, they have taken certain points on board and applied it to DayZ, and this is great for the most part. Having a development team with their ear to the floor is exactly what is needed for an ever-growing game to continue growing, but many creators have also spoken about its continued decrease in difficulty, calling for more hardcore features to be implemented, and this is a problem because a lot of streamers don't experience the game in the same way as the majority. There is no level of difficulty you could turn DayZ up to that wouldn't be counted in a few weeks of consistent play by creators. Playing the same game for sometimes several hours a day across several years is not the norm. It's not a good representation of what DayZ is or what experience the average player receives. A purely anecdotal example example here is myself, a smaller content creator. Before I started creating content, I had a couple of thousand hours in DayZ, but since I've started making it, and with 99% of my content being cut from actual gameplay, my hours have went up tenfold, with me sometimes putting in more than 200 hours in a month, and that's in addition to a full-time job. This means that I far exceeded any average playtime of a regular player. So does this mean I'm a better player than you? No, not even remotely. But it does mean I have a lot more experience with certain features and systems than the average player. So for me to claim that the game is too easy would be a completely unfair representation of its current state, because averaging over 100 hours in anything a month will obviously build skills and muscle memories, rendering it way less difficult than anyone who just can't do that. The inherent danger here is that if the game's difficulty is increased based on the calls of creators or even avid long-termers and veterans only, DayZ could evolve to cater to its most adept players and risk becoming increasingly impenetrable for newcomers. The entry barrier would escalate, potentially alienating players who find the game's punishing in nature less than enjoyable. This is a critical concern, as the long-term viability of DayZ hinges on its capacity to continually attract and retain a fresh player base, rather than merely pandering to its established community. At the end of the day, content creators are not the community, they're just a part of it. So their experience in this scenario is actually counterproductive to the thing they're trying to fix. So what is a potential solution to the difficulty debate, and how do you make your voice even louder than the content creators? First, let's tackle the beginning part. A potential solution to this issue could be the implementation of a stronger geographical increase to difficulty. This means they could make the inland regions of the map significantly more challenging per tier. This could be characterized by scarcer but more powerful resources, more formidable infected, and much harsher environmental conditions, such as blinding storms or even toxic ones, or a tough snow-filled northwest, which would actually fit well with the current design of Chernarus given its specific topography. This would allow novices to hone their skills in the relatively benign coastal zones before daring to venture into the more unforgiving inland areas, which was essentially supposed to be the point of the map and the tier system. Currently, the deeper inland you go, the more difficult it's supposed to get. All I'm proposing is they make part of the map way more difficult and the margins between them way more clear. But this approach could harmonize the needs of both novice and veteran players, offering a range of challenges that can be engaged with at an individual's own pace without the need for lowering the current difficulty or increasing it across the board. It also means that they could treat each block separately going forward, giving them way more control over how the game balances. But how do you make your voice heard? The DayZ development team have been telling us for years, screaming at us. The feedback tracker is not just for appeals, bug reports and so on. Its main purpose is to provide feedback on how to improve the game. This is what they want, and the feedback tracker, which I'll link below, is an incredible way to do it. It's monitored and checked continually, meaning your voice matters. And unlike a content creator or streamer, this is a direct tap into the development team. So don't bother posting problems or suggestions on social media. Wait, no, definitely comment below because it helps me out like a lot. Remember, shower, fetal position, crying. Anyway, you can bypass all of that and tell them exactly what you want. You'd be surprised at how effective this is. It is specifically designed for that, so please use it when you feel a need to. But I am just another content creator with videos you can check out here that will definitely improve your DayZ experience. But please let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, until next time.